Creek is home to a very special place, T&D's Cats of the World. But if you're expecting the typical zoo experience, you are in for quite a surprise. For more than 20 years, T&D's has been caring for exotic animals. Unlike a typical zoo, this is an animal refuge, a sanctuary for homeless, abused, mistreated, or illegally owned animals.
But most of the animals that live here were people had illegally as pets, and either they're confiscated by different government agencies and the government agencies need to find a home for the animals, or unfortunately they get put to sleep. We receive animals from zoos, and they could be little roadside zoos all the way up to an accredited zoo. Like an accredited zoo would be like the Philadelphia Zoo, Pittsburgh Zoo, that kind of facility. And then again, we receive government confiscations.
The resources are few and far between for finding a home for an exotic animal. There are not many places that can accept these species. Jennifer's dad, Terry, started the facility, and she told me how that came about.
My dad's the one to kind of blame for this. He always had an interest in animals. And we took in injured wildlife that people would find in hopes to get them healthy and let them go. That's kind of how it started. And then he had an opportunity to help with a bobcat cougar situation where somebody was selling them illegally in another state. He went down, got those animals, brought them into Pennsylvania, called who he needed to call about saying, hey, you know, he did sell them to me, I have them, where do you want me to meet you with these cats? And they're like, well, they're yours now. So it kind of, that's kind of how it started with the cats. Other states started calling around and seeing if, where Pennsylvania sent unwanted animals, and he said, Terry takes them. And really, Terry didn't take them, it was just helping out at this one opportunity, and it kind of just snowballed from there. You know, he didn't say one day he was going to have rescue animals, it just kind of happened. Which is how a lot of the rescues are established, got established from helping out with something and then realizing the problem.
Though they originally started with cats, the menagerie at T&D's has grown to more than 200 animals of many different species. These Patagonian cavies are related to guinea pigs, so the Mativs have added a few to the cavie's habitat.
The binturong that we have here, they're found in Thailand, Burma, Malaysia, Vietnam. They have a really long tail, and the end of their tail is prehensile, so they can grab onto things with their tail. They just can't hang by it because they weigh too much when they're an adult. And they kind of, something very also unique about them is they kind of smell like Doritos, Fritos, buttered popcorn, warm bread. So a very pleasant odor compared to what they could smell like.
Yeah. She wasn't kidding. When the wind blew the right way, I smelled corn chips. The next animal Jennifer showed us were coatis, a relative of a raccoon. In the first 15 minutes of our visit, I had already seen 3 animals I've never seen at another zoo. As we continued our tour, I came to realize just how different T&D's is from a typical zoo. Around the corner from the coatis and binturongs were the birds.
A lot of them were people's pets that they had them. Others, we do have a few here that were used for breeding, and they just decided to get out of the breeding of them and didn't want them anymore.
While many people think having a parrot or macaw as a pet is fine, there are a few things you should know about them.
But just a couple, usually with visitors or groups, tell people if you want a parrot for a pet, especially these bigger parrots that we have here, they live 60 to 80 years. So it's a huge commitment, or it should be a huge commitment.
Also, they can exert 500 to 1,500 pounds of pressure with their beaks. And one more thing.
So they're loud, you're starting to hear them now.
Yeah, I'm noticing that they make some noise.
Yeah, and they're outside, so just remember that, they're outside here.
Imagine that in your house.
Yeah. And again, it's not that they're, you know, that I'm saying that there's anything bad or wrong with them. It's just who they are.
These birds are very social creatures. Here at T&D's, they can bond with each other, so they require much less human interaction than they would if they were alone. T&D's is also home to a wide array of monkeys, from brown lemurs to spider monkeys, ringtail lemurs, as well as vervets and macaques. Interacting with these monkeys at a close range and in such an intimate environment is what makes a visit to T&D's so unique. When we got to the tiger enclosure, I stood 20 feet from Bengal tigers. It was obvious to me that T&D's is a special place for both visitors and animals alike. Jennifer agreed that the environment they provide is different.
Not like a typical zoo or attraction where you're open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
And we feel it's, the animals have all sorts of backgrounds, and we're open basically on weekends in the summer, and it gives the animals a chance to be who they are 5 days a week, in the summertime.
As opposed to being looked at.
Right.
All the time, and people tramping through and making noise and all those sorts of things.
And I'm not saying zoos and things are bad, it's just we're just different.
Keeping the animals safe from humans is often a factor in the environment at a zoo.
Think of the zoos, you're talking about the National Zoo, how many hundreds or thousands of people they get there every day. That could be hundreds of people doing stupid things at animals, so no wonder why, like you were saying, no wonder why the animals are so far away. Because it's to protect the animals from the visitors.
The unique enclosures at T&Ds are a direct result of their mission to provide a safe haven for their animals. A lot of natural vegetation is allowed to grow up in the tiger, bear, and lion enclosures, and that's on purpose.
If the animals want to hide from the public, we feel it's very important for them to have that choice. And a lot of zoos don't give the animals that choice because visitors, as we mentioned earlier, expect to see an animal in every pen. They expect to see it now and visible. And we feel it's very important for these animals to have that choice.
Those animals without vegetation also have access to their dens at all times. The Mativs also think it's important for the animals to have a stimulating environment in which to live.
Those ropes and things stayed in that same place all the time, it becomes part of their enclosure and it's not new and exciting anymore. So we do switch the rope.
The vegetation provides an interesting environment for the bears and allows them to engage in their natural behaviors.
Bears eat a lot of vegetation, so they can find or forage food on their own. So it's really healthy for them mentally to be able to do that on their own.
Speaking of bears, there are 7 of them at T&Ds. 5 of those 7 were pets, and the other 2 came from zoos.
They're all born in captivity and have had no one teach them or show them what to do, how to survive. So they eventually stop climbing. She's 3 years old and she still climbs, which is why she's in the pens with the roofs on. When she figures it out and proves to us that she is not climbing, there you go.
I can climb.
Almost on cue. She will graduate to a larger enclosure without a roof.
When we come back, we'll show you more of the menagerie at T&D's Cats of the World. Stick around.